Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. The Canadiens get a huge win. As I said, in previous videos and all that kind of stuff, this was a must-win game for the Canadiens to put themselves in a solid position going forward, going into this, Olympic break and beyond here. The Canadiens absolutely delivered here. It wasn't an easy game by any means. The Buffalo Sabres played a really, really solid game against us, and there were definitely moments where I thought the Canadiens weren't going to come up with this win, but, the Canadiens were able to persevere. They knew how big of a game this was, and when the Cards were down and we were down a goal in the third period, who else but Cole Caulfield to score 2 goals to put us in a position to win this game here. So just a great performance by everybody. I thought Dobesh, playing his third game in a row for the Canadiens, played a really good game. He backstopped us really well. Obviously those 2 goals that were scored against him were, solid goals for the Buffalo Sabres there. Can't really blame them too much on those ones there. But the Canadiens were able to persevere, as I mentioned, and continue to play well going into the third period. When they were down here, they started strong. So I felt like definitely a solid game for them overall. And regardless of how this one went here and where we go from here, this is a huge win, huge 2 points to get over the Buffalo Sabres, which now moves the Canadiens up ahead of the Buffalo Sabres into that sole possession of the third in the Atlantic position. And as we look forward, ahead of us here, we are only 1 point behind Detroit here, with a game in hand on them. And then, of course, Tampa Bay has somehow only played 52 games this year, but, they've got 72 points. We are only 3 points away from them. So we're very much, in the mix for being anywhere, up or down in the Atlantic Division right now. But, the important thing here is that we put ourselves in a good position to be back in that top 3. Now, the Canadiens can need to continue to play well here to keep winning games, especially against those Atlantic Division opponents, and see where that takes us going forward into the Olympic break and beyond. Looking at the scores here, obviously, in the first period here, we had a goal from Uri Slafkovsky. It's his 21st of the season there, so another really nice shot from him. We've definitely seen a goal like that from him before, off of a nice feed from down low. He gets a nice one-timer that goes into the top corner there. So definitely a big goal for him. He's just like, whenever Slafkovsky is putting himself in the front of the net position, either literally right out front of the crease or in that high slot position, he's getting opportunities to score goals here. We need to keep him doing things like that, because if he is able to unload the shot that he's got from that spot there, genuinely, I feel like he's unstoppable from that position, and it pays off again here on that power play. Again, his 21st goal of the season. Last season, he only got 18 goals all year. We're at game 55, and he's already got 21. So just another example of how well he's been playing, from this season compared to last season and compared to the entire rest of his career. He's been doing absolutely, magnificent. And again, just continue to be the player that we drafted him to be. And it's really exciting to watch him do that. Just a really nice goal from him. Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield get the assists there. Nick Suzuki's got his 45th assist of the season on that one, and Cole Caulfield his 25th assist of the season on that one. So, obviously those 3 guys, those are our main pieces, our core there, and they all combine to get that big opening goal. And then, of course, as I mentioned, into the second period, the Buffalo Sabres played a really, really strong game. They played really strong in the first period as well. It was definitely impressive, in my opinion, that we kept it as close as it was for as long as it did. The Buffalo Sabres were just so tenacious on the forecheck, and they just would not let up on the Canadiens the entire way through this one. Just forechecking on every puck, and making the Canadiens defensemen make quick decisions in our own zone. And it obviously led to a lot of chances for them. Obviously, they're big and physical in the way that they play, and very, very quick is what I thought as well. So it was definitely a big challenge for us, and I'm very happy personally that the Canadiens no longer have to play the Buffalo Sabres this season, because they are nothing short of an absolute powerhouse right now in this Atlantic Division. So it is much better, in my opinion, to have to play games, alongside of them as opposed to against them there, as we race towards the finish line in this season here. But yeah, they scored those 2 goals. They're both very solid goals. I think there's definitely some, things you can talk about with the penalty calling and stuff, and definitely getting a lot more, not incredibly strong penalties called against us there, and some ones, not going our way, but Again, like we kept putting ourselves in positions where getting a penalty called against us was likely, and you can only survive so long until we get scored on a power play there, and that's exactly what happens. Essentially, the Owen Power goal was like right after a power play, and then the Noah Ostlund goal was on the power play. So the discipline kind of killed us a little bit in this one going into the second period, but I have to be a little bit more disciplined, but also just play in their zone more often than not. I think we did a little bit of sitting back and just allowing them to put a lot of pressure on us there. So that's something that just to look forward to in the future is just trying to find a way to play more in the offensive zone and generate offensive chances when we have the ability to, when we have possession of the puck, turning it and getting into some offensive zone time, because if we allow the other team to spend a lot of time in our zone and spend a lot of times going downhill on us, attacking there, eventually you're going to take a penalty, you're going to get scored on, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I felt like happened in the second period there. But fortunately for us, the third period we kind of turned it around a little bit. Cole Caulfield scores his 31st goal of the season there. A nice play by Cole Caulfield, Noah Dobson and Lane Hudson getting the assist there. Dobson comes in off of the right side and just shoots a nice slap pass kind of situation that goes perfectly off of Cole Caulfield's stick. A really nice tip from him and into the back of the net there. So definitely a really nice play. I didn't even see off of the initial feed that Cole Caulfield was the one who scored that one. It was a really slick tip from here. I almost thought that Kirby Dach was the one who scored that one. But yeah, it was just a really nice play from him, getting his stick into an available position kind of in the high slot area. And then Dobson was, very aware of that situation and was able to find his stick. And, the rest is history there. It goes into the far side of the net. So just a really savvy play by Cole Caulfield, just really showing that, not only is he good, by just shooting the puck and, having a really good shot and some good hands and stuff, he can also make those savvy plays like that and, get a tip in goal every once in a while. And like some of his goals recently have been a little bit more greasy as well, so he's definitely showing that he's making opportunities to score in a lot of different ways. And in my opinion, that's something that the United States Olympic team might want to have on their squad, but it's too late now for that. But again, just finding ways to score goals has been way like what Cole Caulfield does here, and he comes up in a big moment. They don't call him Mr. Saturday Night for no reason here, and he shows up again there to tie the game, and then one more time 6 minutes later to take the lead on this one. It was all started by Kirby Dach here. Caden Gooley gets the puck deep into the zone for a change. Kirby Dach kind of comes in and he forechecks hard on this one. He makes a nice first touch on the puck, gets it to the other side of the defenseman, and is able to get possession of that puck in the offensive zone, make a nice backhand pass that finds Suzuki. Suzuki knows exactly where Cole Caulfield is. He goes right across the crease, and Cole Caulfield just has to get a little bit on that thing, and it gets up and over the glove of the goaltender there and goes in for the 3-2 lead. But that's obviously Cole Caulfield getting his 32nd a goal of the season there. Super impressive. Obviously, he just continues to show up when the lights are the brightest and, the moments are big. But, Kirby Dach, especially for a guy who's, fresh back from injury, he sets that entire thing up by being tenacious on the forecheck, taking a page out of the Buffalo Sabres playbook and making, the Buffalo Sabres pay for, not being, quick on the puck and making, fast decisions there. So definitely, that's that whole play gets started by him, and he gets a very deserved assist there. So going back to the second goal there, as I forgot to mention the assists, but Noah Dobson gets his 24th assist of the season, and Lane Hudson his 47th assist of the season on Cole Caulfield's first goal, and then Cole Caulfield's goal for his 32nd of the year. Nick Suzuki gets his 46th assist of the season, and Kirby Dach his 4th assist of the season. So yeah, a very deserved assist for Kirby Dach on that one, but good to see everybody involved getting points in this one. So we will definitely take those, and that 3-2 lead ended up holding up until the end of the game there. Oliver Kapanen gets a really clutch empty net goal in the dying minute of the period there. It's his 17th goal of the season there, and a very big one. Obviously, we didn't end up needing it. The 3-2 would have been sufficient, but it was definitely big to get that, that sigh of relief, to get that empty net goal there. And obviously also big for Kapanen to kind of chip away at Beckett Seneca for that league lead in rookie goal scoring. He's continuing to have a really, impressive year as well. So, yeah. So again, like Cole Caulfield obviously showing up when the lights are the brightest, making those plays. Oliver Kapanen doing a nice job of icing this game here. But this is another game I feel like obviously you can call out some of those guys. Obviously, you look at Jakub Dobiš as well. He had a 947 save percentage in this one, making 36 saves here. He played a really good game. But I feel like this is another game like even if guys didn't get on the score sheet, everybody played a really big factor in getting this win here. Contributions from all over the lineup and forechecking and making some block shots here and there. I felt like Deneau had some good face-off wins, and obviously the penalty kill had to be really big in this one. Like definitely the power play killed us a little bit, but considering the fact that the power play, there were 4 power plays in this game for Buffalo, and they only technically scored on one of them. I thought the kill did a really nice job of kind of keeping them at bay. That goal, like Jake Evans is involved in that, and the defenseman Deneau. I felt like Suzuki played well on the penalty kill as well. So I felt like pretty much everybody on the lineup, whether they were on the score sheet or not, played a huge factor in getting this win, and they should be really happy with their performance overall. Obviously, I think there's definitely ways for the Canadiens to clean up their game a little bit, be a little bit more consistent in all 3 periods here. I feel like the second period specifically, the Canadiens were really getting, handed to a little bit. They were definitely, on the back foot for that period, but, we survived and we end up getting those 2 points. And as I mentioned before, these 2 points are absolutely ginormous because the Buffalo Sabres, we saw it firsthand in this game. They are not slowing down by any stretch. They are continue to play, incredibly well. They're still 7-2-1 in their last 10, even with this loss here. Boston obviously playing really well, and I think it's almost funny to see the fall off that happens after Buffalo and Boston in that wild card position. The only team close to us, to anybody in the playoffs right now in the East, is Columbus and Washington, who have 61 points. So that's a 6-point difference here between playoff teams and non-playoff teams. But you look down there, you see Ottawa, you see Toronto, you see Florida, Washington, all of those teams, previous playoff teams. The Devils are, all the way down at the bottom there. Like any of those teams could, do exactly what the Canadiens did coming into, the last 2 months of the season after that, the Olympic break, the Four Nations break, whatever you want to call it for the the comparison there. But like any one of those teams could go on a huge streak like the Canadiens did last year, and end up putting themselves in a playoff position. And the Canadiens need to do whatever they can in now going into the Olympic break, and then get rested and come back for the last 2 months of the season to put themselves in a position where any team that streaks their way into the playoffs last minute doesn't kick the Canadiens back out of the playoffs as a result. So again, like great win there. It's our 20th regulation win as well, 31st win overall there. So the Canadiens just have to keep winning games. It does not get any easier for the Canadiens moving forward. Obviously, with the Olympics looming and all that kind of stuff, they like in before the break and after the break, there's a lot of games to be played, a lot of hockey to be played, and a lot of points to get if we want to continue to be a playoff contending team here. Looking towards our next game here, we have the Canadiens playing the Minnesota Wild. So that'll be the back half of the series against the Wild. And, the Wild are a really solid team. Obviously, we beat them with a Cole Caulfield, buzzer beater at the end of regulation last time. But I'm not sure we'll be so lucky this time. So we'll have to really fight for our opportunity there to get this win against Minnesota. Obviously, the star-studded roster that they've kind of assembled this season. So again, like we're not playing any Atlantic Division opponents for a little while here, but we need to find a way to get some wins here before this Olympic break, which is already coming up. At the end of this next week here, Friday the 6th is the start of the Olympic break. So 2 more games for the Canadiens against the Wild and the Jets to end off the break here. If we can get 3 out of 4 points or something like that, or obviously 2 wins would be great there. I think we'll be setting ourselves up for a lot of success coming out of the Olympic break on the other side. So that's pretty much all I have for this one. It's an absolutely massive win for the Canadiens. They just need to continue, playing the way they've been playing, getting the points whenever they can get them, and, continue to outpace Buffalo, Boston, all those kind of teams, and push towards the top of the Atlantic Division. So that's all I've got for this one, and I will see you guys after hopefully another 2 points and a continued push for the playoffs against the Minnesota Wild on Monday.